Before we get started, I do see some new people on the list here. For those of you who haven't been part of our workshops before, I'm Chris Price. I'm one of the certified financial planners here. My job is really to educate basically just the entire community. So every month we bring different workshops about different things. For those of you who have been part of our workshops before, and I see quite a few of you, welcome back. Hopefully you get something from this one like you've maybe gotten from other ones that we've had. So today we're really going to talk about a couple different things. And what we're going to start with is estate planning. We're going to talk about what is estate planning. We're going to talk about important documents. We're going to talk about some things that we use in estate planning. So again, what we're going to learn today is really just about estate planning and what that actually means. So let's get into that. So what is estate planning? Estate planning is really just the way we move our assets from us to someone else when we no longer can make those decisions. So it's going to include a lot of things like wills, trusts, and all those stuff that's involved with that. But basically, that is the process. A lot of times, estate planning gets a misnomer that it's only for the wealthy. But no, it's for everybody, no matter what your worth is. It's really going to be about where does my assets go and how do I transition those assets to the next generation? Or God forbid something happens and I couldn't make my own decisions for it. So first and foremost, I want everyone to know that this is a paperwork-driven piece of your finances. This is really about what paperwork you have and what paperwork says. The most common thing that we hear is a will. Now, a will is a legal representation of what you want your wishes to happen at death. Now, the will we're talking about is what they call a last will. A last will means, God forbid, something is to happen to you, that these are your wishes and what's going to happen to them. If you did not have a will, you would die in what they call intestate or in state. What that really means is that the state of what you passed is going to determine what's going to happen to your assets. Now, this may be the way you want it to happen or maybe not. But my focus and my goal is to tell everyone to make your own wishes. So to have something called a will. Now, during this will, it's going to be read in probate. So it's going to be read as the probate process. Where a will works great is when you maybe have minor children and you want to assign guardians to it. You could also state who you want your what they call executor to be part of that will. The executor is really the person whose job is to go through that process and distribute your assets the way you see fit. So that's really what you want your will to do. Basically, name out the people who are going to be in charge of making some of these decisions. And then you want to create a trust, which you can with the will also, that will hold your assets. So think of a trust as being a safety deposit box that's holding assets, and your will is more of like a love letter, an instruction guide to who's really part and who really is important in receiving some of these things that you might have. Another important document you're going to see everyone talk about is a power of attorney. Now, this document provides authorization to another person to act on your behalf. So basically, think of if you had to have some kind of financial documents done or any kind of documents done, you're giving someone else the power to make decisions for you. Where this is key is in what they call a durable power of attorney. Now, a durable power of attorney doesn't give someone the rights to act for you right away, but instead gives them those rights when you can't no longer yourself. Maybe your parents or someone you know is becoming to an age where maybe decisions might be hard for them. Well, then a durable power of attorney would be great to have in place, God forbid when that's happening. But don't just limit it to individuals of a certain age. Unfortunately, in life, there could be things that happen to all of us, and it might just be something short term. But who's going to be able to make decisions on your behalf when you can't for that day, that week, that month, or whatever that case might be? So, a durable power of attorney is one of those documents that I try to recommend all clients or all people, period, have in place. This could be anyone that you want it to be, Make sure it's someone who has obviously your best wishes at heart and someone who can act rational during that time of need. That's a key factor. One of the biggest things I talk about is who's going to be able to be in the best mind if, God forbid, you can't make decisions. So I say this because a lot of people will say, hey, I automatically want my spouse, my wife, my husband, my whatever, to be acting as that durable power of attorney. Well, let's make sure that they're also in the right state of mind to be able to make that. Remember, you're in a condition where maybe no one's seen you. So now let's talk a little bit about businesses. So one of the main areas of our, let's say, client base is business owners. Now, a lot of businesses are sole proprietors. There's one person in that business. So I get a common question all the time, and I ask this common question all the time. What happens to the business, usually someone's largest asset, God forbid something was to happen to them? Usually those owners, you spent millions of hours working on this business, growing this business. But who's going to run it if you can't? Is it going to maybe transfer to your spouse? And if it does transfer to your spouse, do they know how to run it? Do they understand what needs to be done or not being done? Maybe you have a succession plan set up with your kids. Maybe your kids are of a certain age and they're going to run it. Maybe you have key employees that you want to transfer to, or maybe the goal is to sell it to someone else. No matter what your scenario is, having the plan in place is extremely important. If you talk to anyone who has ever done any business in this, the first thing we're all going to say is plan, plan, plan. So we talked about those four common ways that a business can be transferred due to death, disability, or retirement. Now we have to figure out what is going to be that contingency plan. After we figure out that contingency plan, we have to let others know what that's going to be. Is our spouse going to take it over? Is our kids going to take it over? Are we giving it to key employees? Do we have someone in line to sell it? Once that happens, we're going to work with an attorney on drafting those documents. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later today. But we're going to talk about what documents we need and why and how they should be drafted. And this is extremely important. Things change frequently. And if you're not there to make sure they go fluent, how can you plan the best so your plan goes for sure? And then last but not least, this is probably people's most scare, is how to protect against a quick sale of the business just because someone's jumping in there when you're not able to see or plan for the right decision. So one of the first steps people look into is, well, okay, well, if I am a key person or if I have key employees that are strategic to my business, how do I protect the business from their departure? Again, myself or there. And this is really a key factor that we use a lot with a lot of our clients. And I'll give you a little example. A few years ago, I have a client who owned a medical practice. Now, he's owned many medical practices, but he himself is not a doctor. So he has a doctor that they prescribe and they do all the medical stuff through that person's license. Well, that person is a key employee. If God forbid something happens to that person, then how do they fulfill? How do they have patients? How do they do prescriptions? How do they basically run the business without that person in their license? So what we did is we set up what they call key man insurance, put a contract in place and put insurance in order to fund, God forbid something was to happen. Well, unfortunately, during 2020, that doctor COVID and passed away shortly after. Now that business, as soon as that person got sick, that key person got sick, and as soon as that key person passed away, that business had zero revenue coming in. They had 5 employees in that location, but zero revenue coming in. So how do they pay the rent? How do they pay their suppliers? How do they pay their employees? How do they pay all this stuff? Well, they're trying to get a new doctor in place. Well, that's where their key man insurance came into place. Basically, that person passed away. The business received the lump sum from the insurance company, and that business was able to maintain clients, maintain patients, maintain rent, maintain their business, and use that lump sum to attract another doctor to leave where they were and jump in to work with them. So it's a key factor to help that business owner maintain that business through an extremely disruptive time. Now, let's say that you're not a sole proprietor, but you have a business partner, or you have many business partners. Point being is more than one person owns this business. Now, a lot of times when we have partners or multiple partners, it's not just one person doing all the work. If it was, that would be that key man. It's usually many key men, many key people that are doing that job to sustain this business and to grow that business. So the question always comes into play, well, what if something happens to one of them? Well, that equity, that business will follow their estate planning documents. If it's a will saying it's their spouse, it's going to their spouse, their kids, whatever the case might be. Well, now that person, that new person, became an owner of this business. Now that person may be interested in it, may not be interested in it, may know what they're doing, may not. But as a business owner, can you sustain that business that you had without that person there or with these new individuals there? And that's what a buy-sell planning is really designed to do. It's designed to help protect the business if, God forbid, a partner, a key partner, was to leave. It's basically saying, hey, I'm going to sell this business if and when that is to happen. I'm going to agree on these terms. So to keep things as simple as possible, let's say there's two owners and they're 50-50, right? They both do a great job at this business. And they both need each other. Well, maybe the buy sell says if one was to pass, the other is going to buy that business from their estate for $1 million, $500,000, whatever the case might be. There's an agreement in place on how that purchase will happen. That's really what a buy sell is designed to do. It's the contract saying, hey, this is already going to be sold at this particular price. Now, what does this help? Well, one, this helps continuation of business. That owner that's still alive doesn't have to worry about, well, where's half of my business? They now own the business. Now, the owner that passed away, their family already knows what price and what they're going to get for the equity that that person owned. So their family gets made whole and the business owner gets made whole. There's no ifs and whens that we have to worry about. Now, this may be funded different ways. As we can see, we've funded with disability income or life insurance or something of that nature. So businesses really fund this a few different ways. They either fund it through cash that they have or using insurance. That's going to be up to each company, right? If you have the cash available, it might just be easier to take that cash and pay out that owner's family based on what the buy-sell agreement says. But if you don't have that cash available, that's when someone would have that insurance to step in and pay for that. So just kind of keep in mind that if you are one of the ones out there that have business partners, what is going to happen? God forbid one of you was to pass. Where does the equity go to? And if it's going to a place that's less favorable for the business, how do we protect the continuation of that business? So, key points. The importance of planning in advance is something that, listen, everyone on this call is going to hear being said. Everyone on this call knows that's what happens, but a lot of times we don't think bad things are going to happen, so it doesn't happen. But the importance of planning in advance is key. Plan, and readjust what those plans are. Next one, make sure that you have your documents set up. Wills, power of attorneys, probably a trust. For everyone in this call who sat down with me before, I'm a big fan of setting up a trust. Work with your personal attorneys, tax advisors to take advantage of maybe gifting or setting up these documents. And when that's done, make sure your financial services scenario is also lined up, meaning if you have a trust, are things titled correctly? Are they organized? That kind of stuff there. So, action items for everyone on this call. work with an attorney, get your key estate planning documents set up, reviewed for accuracy, update them if you have to. Work with your personal tax advisor to make sure that if you're following gift strategies, you are. Gifting might be a piece of this. And then obviously make sure your finances are in line with what your estate planning says. I want to thank everyone for being part of this one. I told you this week was a little bit different than most. This one is particular on a particular subject. I hope everybody who is either a business owner out there who has estate planning needs or who knows someone has had a little aha moment. Like always, if you do want to schedule some time to talk to us, there's a QR code on your screen, and I look forward to seeing you guys next month.